Welcome to finger weaving. Before you get started, you're going to need to collect some supplies. And the first thing you want to think about is the yarn that you'll be using. So for this piece, I've selected a worsted weight wool yarn, and you can find this yarn in most knitting shops, and you can also find it online. And when you're selecting your yarn, you're going to want to consider a couple things. So the bands that we're going to be weaving have two colors in them. So you want to pick two light colors that will help you to see your weaving better as you work. And you're also going to want to pick two colors that have high contrast, which just means that they're very different colors. And that will help you see your pattern easily as you work. So besides the yarn, you're going to want to have a clipboard. You'll want to have two binder clips, a pair of scissors for cutting your yarn. You're also going to want to have 3 small dowels that are cut to be about 4 inches in length. And one of those dowels, it's nice if it's a little bit bigger than the other two. You're also going to want to have a measuring tape to measure your yarn, and also a small clip. And you just use this small clip to hold your piece when you put it down for a time between weavings. So once you've collected these items, you're ready to begin your weaving, and I'll show you that in the next video. When you're ready to begin your weaving, you want to cut 10 threads, 5 of one color and 5 of a second color. And you want your threads to be about 30 inches long. You can use your tape measure and your scissors to make your thread lengths. And it's a good idea to start with threads that are about 30 inches long. Once you become more familiar with the technique, you can use longer lengths of thread. But for your first project, 30 inches is a good starting length. So we're going to set your threads aside. And you're going to want to start by threading your threads onto the larger of your 4-inch dowels. So one at a time, take your threads, and you begin by folding them in half. And then take the top loop there and fold it back down onto itself so that you get 2 smaller loops. And then take your dowel and thread it through those 2 smaller loops, and then draw your threads up so that they're snug against your dowel. And you're going to do that with your next thread. Fold it in half. Take that top loop and fold it down onto itself so that you get the 2 small loops. And now thread your dowel through those 2 loops and bring it up snug on the dowel. You're going to want to continue to do this with all of the threads of one color, and then do the 5 threads of your second color. And I'm going to speed up the film a little bit while I finish doing this. And you can stop the film if you like while you put your threads on your dowel, and then start again when we're ready to begin weaving. Okay, when you have all of your threads threaded on your dowel, it's now time to separate your threads, half and half. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm going to hold my threads in my left hand and use my right index finger to pick up my threads. If you're left-handed, just hold your threads in your right hand and use your left index finger to pick up your threads. So what we want to do is divide these threads in half. So I'm going to begin by taking the first white thread and putting it on the top of my index finger and pushing the second thread to the back of my index finger. And I'm going to do that all the way across with a third thread going in front, the fourth in back, and on across my white threads, so that when I'm done picking up and dividing my white threads, I have 5 threads on the front of my index finger and 5 threads on the back. And I'm going to continue to do that across the green threads. 1 up, 1 back, 1 up, 1 back, up, back, up, back, up, back. There we go. Now I'm going to divide the threads, pull them apart so the 10 threads are in the front of my dowel and 10 threads are off to the back of my dowel. Now you're ready to get your clipboard. So you want to take your clipboard and take the threads that are going off the back of your clipboard, and I'm going to gather them up, and I'm going to lift the clip on the clipboard, put the 10 back threads underneath, and draw them up tight, and then place the clip onto them. All right. It's a good idea when you're weaving to hold your threads nice and tight. That helps the weaving process go much more smoothly. So we're going to take these threads that were on the back of your dowel, and we're going to actually just lay them to the back of your clipboard for right now. And another thing that I like to do is to take one of the binder clips and I put it on the top of the clipboard like this, just so that it holds down my threads nice and snug when I begin my work. That helps things go more easily. And now, the next thing you want to do is to take your 2 small dowels and take the first one, and this is important, go under the first thread, over the second, under the third, over the fourth, alternating as you go across your 10 threads, so that when you're done, you should have 5 threads sitting on top of your first dowel. Now we're going to take that second dowel and we're going to pick up the opposite threads. So I'm going to go over the first thread, under the second and lift it up, over the third, under the fourth and lift it up, and so on, picking up the threads that were before on the bottom of the dowel and putting them on the top of this second dowel, and then snug those 2 dowels up close together. And the one more thing you need before you begin weaving is to take your other binder clip and clip it on the side of your clipboard. Now I'm ready to begin weaving. So I'm going to take my right index finger and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my dowels. I'm going to pick up the thread that goes under the last dowel and put it on top of my index finger and push the next top thread from the previous dowel down. So up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. And then I'm going to open my yarns front to back, and I'm going to put my left index finger in that opening. Now, weavers call this opening in your threads the shed. So I'm putting my left index finger into that shed. And I'm going to take my right index finger and reach through the shed, and I'm going to pick up the leftmost thread and bring it over and across, and I'm going to park it in the binder clip at the side of my clipboard. And that is my first row of weaving. So it's important that I keep my left index finger in the shed from this row, okay? It's the same shed. If I open it up, you can see that the thread goes right across that opening, and I'm keeping my index finger in that opening. So I'm going to take my right index finger and do the same thing. If a thread is on top of my left index finger, I'm going to push it down, and I'm going to pick up the ones that are on the bottom of that finger and push down the ones on the top, pick up the ones on the bottom, and work on across my threads. Okay, now on my right index finger, I have my new opening or my new shed. So I'm going to drop my left index finger and I'm going to put it into this new thread or this new shed that I've created and separate my threads, and I'm going to push my threads, pull them apart, and that helps to pack my weaving in nice and snug as I weave. So I'm going to do that every row. And now I'm going to take my right index finger again and pick up that leftmost thread and bring it over. Now, before I put this one in the clip, I'm going to lay down this new thread and take this thread from the previous row. I'm going to take it out of the clip, and I'm going to have it join the threads that are on the top of my left index finger, and then take the new thread that I brought across and put it into the clip. That's my second row of weaving. And notice that I'm pulling the threads pretty tight as I go across. Now I'm ready to begin another row. So I'm going to pick up the alternate threads just as I did in the previous rows. This is my new shed that is on my right index finger. I'm going to put it on my left index finger, transfer it over, pull my threads apart to pack my band in nice and tight, reach in with my right index finger, pick up that furthest most thread, and bring it across. So I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to pick up the thread that was in the previous row, and I'm going to have it join the threads on the top of my left index finger, and then I'm going to put the new thread into the clip. And I'm ready for my next row. And this is the pattern that you're going to be using throughout your weaving. This is the process. Okay, open up a new shed with my right index finger, put my left index finger into that new shed, separate my threads, pull them up nice and snug, reach through with my right index finger, pick up that leftmost thread, and bring it across inside the shed. Then I'm going to take the thread from my previous row, have it join the threads that are in my left hand on the top, and then put the new thread into my clip. And again, and now I finished weaving with all of my green threads. The next thread I bring across will be a white thread. Separate my threads, pack my band, pick up that leftmost thread, bring it across, lay it down, pick up the previous row's thread, and put the new one in the clip. You will find as you weave, your threads begin to behave better. You get more organized. There's The pattern itself helps you to pick up the right color threads. And you begin to get a feel for the various hand actions so that they come more readily to you. Now, a couple things I want to show you is as you weave, you'll notice that as your piece gets longer, the angle here between your weaving and your binder clip changes. So what you would like to do is as you weave, you can move your binder clip down the side of your clipboard so that the thread that you last wove is pretty much coming straight across from your weaving to the top of your binder clip. That's helpful. After you've woven a while, you might like to take a break. And if you do, what I suggest you do is to take across your last string, and then the threads that are sitting on top of your left index finger, take those threads and just bring them together and hold them in your little clip. And that way, when you want to come back to your weaving, all you need to do is pick it up where the clip is separating your threads, put your left index finger back in that opening or that shed, and then you're ready to go with your next row. So that makes that much easier. And then finally, something I'd like to show you in this segment is that when your piece gets fairly long, a little longer than this, but I'll show you with this piece, what you want to do is you can move this through your clipboard so that you can keep on weaving. And what I do is I remove that top binder clip, open the clipboard, and you can just kind of wiggle these dowels through so that you can again clip your piece down and keep working. You'll want to bring up the binder clip on the side of your weaving, and then you can keep weaving the remainder of your length. And I'll show you more about finishing this side, and I'll show you about how to weave the yarns that are on the back of your board in the next film clip. So I'd like to show you just a couple more things to finish your finger weaving and to weave the back portion of your threads here. I have now woven far enough down that it's getting hard to keep moving the threads across and putting them in my clip. So it's time to tie this off. And all you need to do is take the last thread that you put in your clip, take it out, and then the simplest way to finish this is to do an overhand knot, bring the end through and down, make a nice firm knot at the end of your weaving, and that will hold it. And you can see that as I was weaving here, I moved the sticks through the clamp. I also moved my weaving over from the left-hand side of the clipboard to the right-hand side of the clipboard so that I had less length involved in putting the yarn into the clip, and that let me weave a little bit longer. So once you have tied your piece off, you can take it out of the clip on your clipboard, and all you need to do to weave the second part is to turn it around and put the woven part of your band in the clip on the clipboard. And I'm going to move it back over here to start with. Okay, I'm going to move my clip back up. Now, I'm going to take out that first larger dowel that we put in at the very beginning of the weaving, and you can just pull your threads out of those loops that you created and take out your second thinner dowel. And then for the third dowel, if you just take and open this up. You can stick your left hand or your left finger in there, your left index finger, and that will be your next shed, okay? And then take the last thread that comes off your weaving over here and put that in your clip, and then you're ready to go on weaving. Just put your index finger through, take the rightmost thread, lay it down, pick up the thread off your clip, and you're on your way to finish the remainder of your weaving. If you have enjoyed finger weaving, there's a vast world of finger weaving for you to explore, and I would suggest you're looking up the book Fingerweaving by Gerald Findlay. It's a wonderful book. It has great illustrations, many different kinds of patterns and color choices and uses of color. He also introduces beads into his work. So if you'd like to continue to explore finger weaving, I highly recommend this book. So thank you for weaving along with me, and happy weaving to you.